Contact sports are one of the many causes for chronic pain. And as you know, in America, there's probably not a contact sport more popular than football. What's been in the news a lot lately is some of these ex-NFL athletes and some of the after effects of pain after seasons and seasons in the NFL. And there's an issue of pain that they deal with during the season, but there's some issues of chronic pain long after their careers are over that we're just now beginning to become a little bit more aware of. Most of us are fairly well aware of some of the pain that happens with professional athletes during their careers, and we know about some of our favorite athletes that are on the injured reserve list, but most of us are not aware of what happens to some of these professional athletes, and specifically ex-NFL athletes, long after their careers are over. I treat many athletes at the Pain Center of Arizona, and one of my favorite athletes is ex-NFL star and Super Bowl champion 3 times, Dale Hellestrae. Well, Dale's here today to tell us a little bit about what it's like living with some chronic pain after an exciting career in the NFL.
Actually, my first love was basketball, and I was actually better at basketball through probably about senior year in high school. But I realized that 6'4", 220-pound guys who don't jump real high don't have a future in basketball. So went down the football route. Long snapping got me in the door. I got a scholarship to SMU, and then obviously drafted by the Buffalo Bills in the 4th round. The thing I remember is I broke my thumb, shattered my thumb in about 4 different spots. Didn't hurt that bad, but that was probably the first thing I remember in Buffalo. I actually missed about 8 weeks. They had it in a cast because it was one of those fractures that they said if it gets hit just right, whatever this bone is would be shattered, and they couldn't put it back together, so they had to wait till it completely healed. The next season, I broke my navicular bone. And I realized that if you're getting bowled over as a long snapper on extra points and they got 4 guys and they bowl you back over, don't break your fall when you got 4 300-pounders landing on you. I didn't even know what a navicular bone was. Now, there was rehab for that, which I didn't realize. They put me in a cast. I finished the game, actually. They put me in a cast afterwards, said you broke your navicular, start doing push-ups with your hands closed, and I'm like, that hurts. But I guess the navicular bone is the bone that has the least amount of blood flow to it in your entire body. But, that's why I missed the games my second year. The 3rd year in Buffalo, I went to cut a guy. I was playing offensive tackle, went to cut a guy in a preseason game. He went straight up in the air and landed on my lower back. So I blew my L5-S1. Back then, NFL teams didn't know about backs. I had pain going down my left side, down past my knee. I couldn't bend over. They treated me for a pulled hip flexor for about 2.5 weeks. And I said, if I had a pulled hip flexor, I could bend over. I didn't know what had happened, so I missed that season. Then I come back for my 4th year in Buffalo, major injury-free, and played in all 16 games. And that was the kind of start of it. We went to the AFC Championship game. It was a fun year to be around the Buffalo Bills because here I am as a rookie, 2-14. And then my last year in Buffalo, we finished 12-4. Get to go to the AFC Championship game. Had a chance to go to the Super Bowl, but it was just a fun experience to be part of a building team.
Well, you've heard Dale's side of the story, but let me tell you, as a physician, with all of these athletes that I see day after day, there are some significant injuries that happen to some of these players. So if you could remember somewhere back in physics class that mass is equal to force times acceleration, well, if you've got a large player and you're applying a bunch of force at high amounts of speed, you can imagine the amount of injury that can happen. In Dale's case, as you've heard, there's some issue of back pain, but it was really his hip that became a source of chronic, debilitating pain for Dale. It was affecting adversely his quality of life, his activities of daily living. When we first saw Dale at the Pain Center of Arizona, we evaluated him and came to a diagnosis that he had some severe degenerative change of the hip joint. And again, most of these professional athletes that have undergone significant, long, and successful careers are going to be dealing with a majority of issues relating to the bones and the muscles and the joints. Some of them are issues of chronic mid to low back pain. Some of them are chronic knee pain. Again, in Dale's case, this was an issue of some chronic, debilitating pain of the hip.
When I was 30 years old, the Cowboys doctors told me by the time you're 45, you'll have an artificial hip. At 30 years old, you think they're crazy. Almost to the day at 45, I had to go get an artificial hip. I've seen Dr. Sywick a few times, and that's what, I first started seeing him right before it was time to get the artificial hip, and because my hip was killing me. And we both served on the board here at Scottsdale Christian Academy together. So as a pain doc, going to see him. I'm not afraid of needles, but the first shot he gave me in my hip was a needle about yay big. And he said, I'm going into your hip socket. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to close my eyes. He did a wonderful job. Obviously bought me a little bit more time. But at some point, you just got to say, it's time.
When we first saw Dale, we began with simple conservative therapies, medication management, anti-inflammatory medicines, some physical therapy to see if we could rehab the joint a little bit and kind of strengthen some of the hip extensors and flexors. But the truth of the matter is that that wear had been happening over a long period of time. We advanced even a little bit to some interventional injections. We're under some simple X-ray guidance. We were able to put some pain medicine and a long-acting, powerful anti-inflammatory in and around that joint, and able to give Dale a significant amount of relief for a period of time. Over an extended amount of time, however, that hip had just suffered too much trauma and too much deterioration, and Dale, as you've heard, ended up having a very successful hip replacement ultimately. Now Dale is back at it again, and although you might not see him on the football field competing, you'll certainly hear his voice or see his face on TV as one of my favorite sports announcers here locally.
People say, were you sad when it ended? I said, you know what? My rookie coach in Buffalo is a guy named Jim Ringo, and he told me our rookie year, he said, every body only has so many hits in it. And I figured when I was 39, my body had had enough. I feel pretty good right now. Just started to get back into working out. Have an artificial hip. Doctors were right, almost to the day. As I told you, 45 years old. Couldn't deal with the pain anymore. So that now has allowed me to get in the gym, start doing some cardio, things like that. And as much as I don't like to do it, after have to be such a regimen for 40 years, I know I feel better and things work better when you get in there and work out. Everybody out there on the football field, come opening day, has some sort of pain. Now, you've already been through training camp, you've been through preseason, you've sprained an ankle, you've sprained a thumb, you might have broke something, but you're out there playing. And as an announcer, that's one of the things that's so difficult for me. You have to be critical, but you don't know what that guy's going through. You don't know if he blew his shoulder and he's out there sucking it up and he's got it taped down and all that, but just make sure you give those guys the credit that they're due, because there's no wimps playing football.
Experience the Pain Center of Arizona and get back into life. Call 1-888-PAIN-CENTER.
I think you have to trust them. You have to put your trust in someone.
I do trust doctors. All the doctors I've had, I've trusted, and everything I've had done has come out quite well.
Some. I say it advisedly. I think, I think they all think they're doing their best for you, but I think we have to be advocates for our own health, and if you get some advice that doesn't sound something that might help you, then I think you have to, sort of be advised.
Sometimes I've had surgery on my shoulder once and have to have it again one day.
Generally speaking, but I would seek a second opinion if I had any question.
My husband's a doctor, for one, and I do trust his opinion on other doctors, and which just makes me trust them more because I understand how he feels towards his patients, and I would like to think all doctors feel the same way.
I'm going to say when I received the news that I was in remission from cancer, that was my best experience.
I had an excellent experience when I was young. I was taking some pills, some Valium to get rid of stress. And within 6 months, the doctor called me in and he gave me a lecture on why not to take Valium for more than a certain span of time, become addicted to it.
I think my primary care doctor, who is a woman, who is very proactive, and because she takes the time to actually listen to you, she really sort of doesn't just do tests for test's sake. It would be something that you felt you needed to have, or she felt you needed to have. So I think that would be my best experience with my primary care doctor.
Just recently I had to go in for a exam, and it turned out really well. Everything was great. Everybody was nice. I had no problems.
I think most do. They just have such a schedule. They schedule appointments. You're in there for half an hour, not enough time for a real consultation. They're moving on to the next person.
Oh yeah, I do. I really do.
Oh yeah, I think they wouldn't be doctors if they didn't care. They wouldn't go through all the schooling.
Oh, definitely. I would say the majority of them do. There are always a few that are out there just for the money.
I think that they do for the most part.
I think they do. I know that, like with the oncologist office, the nurses and the doctors have to shield themselves a lot because a lot of the patients don't make it. But overall, I think they care quite a bit about their patients and the people that work for them.